You know, as a guide or even just as a tourist, it's a good idea to know a little bit about an area. This town in Belgium called Bouillon, I think that's how you call it. I don't know if that's where the spice came from, Bouillon, but in any case, the history is really fascinating. Um, it's something special. And the Chateau Fort de Bouillon, it's hard to miss, isn't it? Standing on top of the hill, it dominates the landscape. This fortress has been here for over 1,000 years, and when you look at it, you can feel the weight of its past. It's not just a castle, it's a symbol of everything this town has been through: battles, sieges, triumphs, and defeats. But what's truly fascinating is the history behind this place. This is something I didn't know. Bouillon wasn't always a well known town, but it became famous not just in Belgium, but across the world because of its one man, Godfrey of Bouillon. He's the very same Godfrey who became one of the leaders of the first crusade to Jerusalem. He came from here, from this very town, and this castle was his stronghold, his base of operations before embarking on his legendary journey to the Holy Land. Imagine that. It must have been like what it must have been like back then, with Godfrey and his knights preparing for one of the most significant military campaigns in history, right here in this very fortress. When you stand here and look up at the Chateau fort, it's easy to see how it was designed for defense. The walls are super thick, the towers rise high, and the entire structure is built on a hill that offers a commanding view of the town and the surrounding valley. It wasn't just a palace, it was a military fortress. And back in the day, that view would have been crucial for spotting any approaching enemies, giving defenders time to prepare. The keep, the central tower, was the heart of the fortress. That's where Godfrey would have lived, made decisions, and probably even planned his military strategies. And while it's hard to imagine what life must have been like here during medieval times, the castle's architecture gives us a glimpse into the past. And I must say, castles are cold and damp and dark, and I don't know if I would have loved living in one. Anyway, the thick walls, the narrow windows designed for archers, and the imposing gates, it all paints a picture of a time when this was a seat of power. Now, Bouillon as a town is equally captivating. It's small, quiet, and peaceful, with narrow streets and cozy buildings that seem to have stood the test of time. Even though the world around it has changed so much, Bouillon has managed to preserve its history. You can almost feel what it's like. The river is called the Semoise River, winds right through the valley and right between the town and the castle. But what makes Bouillon even more remarkable is how well preserved the Chateau fort is. It could have easily fallen into ruins, especially after the chaos of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. But thanks to restoration efforts in the 19th and 20th centuries, it stands strong today, a testament to the resilience of the region. Um, it's incredible. Just walking through the tunnels, you get a sense that there must have been thousands of people working in here. It must have been incredible. Um, it's hard to not be moved by the history that surrounds you here. Bouillon isn't just a town, it's a living, breathing museum. And I think that's really true. This place speaks to history lovers, adventure seekers, and anyone who wants to feel the magic of the past. The wonderful thing is, there's hardly any tourists here. This is off the beaten path. This is not something that's promoted a lot. It didn't cost hardly anything to get in here. And going through uh, and just having to feel almost by ourselves. In fact, I think we were by ourselves most of the time. It was just a kind of an eerie feeling, but it was a wonderful feeling. You can just imagine what it would have been like living here. It's a beautiful place. It's well preserved. I'm glad they restored it. I don't know if that was ever under any major disrepair, but it looks great. In any case, it's a wonderful place to visit. I invite you to do so. It's best done by car. I don't know if there's a train rail around here, but have a come and have a look at it. As you can see in the video, there's hardly anybody here, and it's wonderful. It's just as good or better than some of the paid-for sites that you're going to see across Europe. Boullion is just one of those sites that we saw by renting a car and getting off the beaten path. In fact, you can stay on some major routes and still see many things that are not advertised. You'll notice that when you come to Europe, all the major ones that are advertised cost money, but there's many, many more, probably 90% of them are not advertised. And that's because there's no money in it for the tourist guides, or at least the tourist companies. So if you rent a car and start driving around, you're going to come across castles that have been turned into homes, that have been turned into old folks' places, things like that. You're going to find all sorts of stuff, and a lot of them are free. So that's my suggestion is if you have an opportunity and you're going to spend some time in Europe, at least part of that time, rent a car and get off the beaten path. Now, trains go everywhere, seemingly, but still, there are some places you can't get to unless you're driving in a car. And it's comfortable, and you can carry more luggage if you want changes of clothing. In any case, if you have a chance, drop by Bouillon, go through the castle. I can't remember how much it cost, but it was very little. And there was nobody here but us, so you can get away from a lot of the tourists. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Keep on traveling.